Hey, this is Jeremy, and we're going to be ranking the characters' abilities. Now, these are the special abilities that each of the characters have. There are 19 current characters, and we'll be going over all of those characters. Now, to start with, I'm going to go with an honorable mention. And why am I putting in an honorable mention here? Well, this is a character that hasn't been released yet, but we have been able to see their card, and that is Deadpool. Now, this is the actual final art for the Deadpool set. The whole set is themed around that Deadpool made this set himself, so the artwork is different, and we see the Deadpool's special effects are after you attack, Deadpool recovers 1 health. And also if your opponent's real name is Logan, all your attacks are +5. Because it's Deadpool and he has it out for a particular Logan. Now, gaining a health every time you attack sounds kind of insane because that is a ridiculous amount of healing. I mean, it can heal with as many attack cards as you have. Downside to that is that it looks like Deadpool's health is 10, so he has a pretty low health. You have to hit him before he can heal up and attack again. And it does appear that looking at Deadpool's health wheel, which we also got a look at, that his health wheel does max out at 10, so it's not like he starts at 10 and can heal up higher. We really don't know how this is going to play, so that's why I am calling this the honorable mention. Okay, now let's get into the characters that we've actually been able to see. I'm going to go from the worst to the best. King Arthur. Okay, so King Arthur, when he attacks, you can boost that attack. You play the boost card face down along with your attack card. If your opponent cancels the effects on your attack card, the boost is discarded without effect. So this sounds like you can use other cards to boost the attack, and that would sound like a good thing. So why would this be bad? Well, 2 reasons it would be bad. The way that this is worded, the boost card has to be played down when you're attacking, so your opponent will know that you're boosting. So you're very much telegraphing when you boost. Also, this is an effect that can be canceled by card effect, and it is the only one in all these that can be canceled by card effect. So definitely puts King Arthur's ability here at the bottom. We have Spike. At the start of your turn, you may place a shadow token in any space adjacent to Spike or Drusilla. So you have 3 shadow tokens. You can get them all on the board. Then you can start shuffling them around. Question arises, what can you really do with these shadow tokens? And well, you get some card effects that can be done if they're there. You just have to make sure that you're placing the shadow tokens in the right spot before your attack. It just means that if you have to maneuver to get to an attack, that you can't use some of your special effects on the cards. And then opponents will just make sure that they are never sitting on a shadow token when they come to attack you. Not a real great effect. Invisible Man. Okay, so some of you that really love Invisible Man are going to get upset with this one. I think this is better than Spike's shadow tokens. You can place the 3 fog tokens in separate spaces. Invisible Man can move between them just like they're adjacent spaces, and he gets +1 defense when he's on a fog token. You have to be able to take advantage of that, and that's really difficult to do. It's just a very hard special ability to get figured out, and so that knocks him down on there because people don't even want to play as him because he is so difficult. So if you can figure him out, this can really work well. Next we have Jekyll and Hyde. You start the game as Dr. Jekyll, and at the start of each turn you can transform from Jekyll or Hyde, and while you're Hyde, you have the special disability of taking 1 damage every time you maneuver. So while this is thematically a brilliant special ability. On the downside is that you have a lot of cards in your hands that you just can't play at certain times, because if you're Jekyll, you can't play Hyde's cards, and vice versa. And also, if you ever get stuck with Hyde at the wrong time, yeah, it starts really costing you to be able to maneuver around. Next, we have Bigfoot, and people are like, hey, Bigfoot is awesome. Bigfoot is not awesome because of his special ability, though. It is just because of the build-up of the character. His special ability is at the end of the turn, if there are no opposing fighters in Bigfoot's zone, you can draw a card. Now, I think that just getting a card draw for your special effect is kind of weak. As strong as Bigfoot is, maybe it's okay that he has a weak special ability. And this is often a special ability that's forgotten about. And I see a lot of people that'll get off in a zone and just forget to draw a card. And while we're talking about card draw not being the best special ability, with Angel, after Angel or Faith attacks, if you lose the combat, draw a card. Now, I put this above Bigfoot's ability because I feel that there's a lot of more chances to use this. One thing to remember is that when you're attacking, if it's a tie is a win for the defense, and so that's technically a loss as far as this card goes here. So I think losing attacks will happen more often than being in a zone by yourself. So that puts Angel a little bit over Bigfoot. Next we have Willow. When Willow or Terra is dealt damage, Willow becomes Dark Willow. At the end of your turn, if Dark Willow is adjacent to Terra, she becomes Willow. There are a number of cards in Willow's deck that there are effects that can only be done if you are Dark Willow. So this is one of the special abilities that is inherently linked with the deck. The downside to Dark Willow, and this kind of goes thematically with the character from the show, is that Dark Willow, while being powerful and able to do a lot of crazy stuff, also hurts herself and others around her, even if they may be friends. You have a lot of like blind boost, a lot of getting to deal extra damage if you discard some other cards and stuff. She can do a lot and is really a beast when she is Dark Willow, but she's kind of got this ticking clock on her there when she is Dark Willow, because she's just, going to just burn through her deck. Next card is Beowulf. Beowulf starts with 1 rage. When Beowulf is dealt damage, he gains 1 rage. Beowulf has a maximum of 3 rage. Once again, this is another one that is linked with the deck. There are cards that let you spend rage. Downside to this is that you never seem to have as much rage as you need when you need it. You need to really figure out what cards you want to spend rage on and not just kind of go nuts burning through rage on all of your cards. And when you're not utilizing rage with a lot of his cards in his deck are very weak without the rage. The Raptors. The Raptors add 1 to the value of their attack for each of your other Raptors adjacent to the defender. If you get all your Raptors surrounded around someone, you're getting 2 additional attack on there. Now, you don't want to always keep your Raptors clustered together, so that's one downside to it, is that if you need to split the Raptors up, it's hard to get them all together to converge on someone. Also, if you lose one of your Raptors, well, now part of your ability has gone away. And if you lose both your Raptors, you're very much, you don't have your special ability at all at that point. Next, we have Alice. When you start the game, you decide if she is big or small. When she's big, she has +2 to her attacks. When she is small, she has +1 to her defense. And there are cards that will make Alice go back and forth between big and small. I find that this is a little bit better than like Jekyll and Hyde, because Jekyll and Hyde, you just have cards that are just not even playable if you are the wrong character at that point. Whereas Alice can still always use all of her cards. She just may not get the boost on them. She also never has the downside of taking damage when she's maneuvering. And also a little bit better than Willow and Dark Willow in that she doesn't like actively burn through her deck. And while you don't have direct control by choice, if you are big or small, you're able to, and there is a lot of going big and small on Alice's cards. So you are able to constantly be able to change. So you can kind of plan it out if you're smart. Buffy. Buffy can move through spaces containing opposing fighters, including when she is moved by effect. Buffy can't get pinned in anywhere, or can't easily get pinned in. With a movement of 3, you can't even just make like a wall of other characters around her that she can't go through. One huge tactic that is done all the time is trapping characters, particularly melee characters, forcing them to be attacked. But this is a tactic you cannot use on Buffy. Little Red has a very interesting special ability that all of her cards have a symbol on them, and there will be effects on some of her cards that, depending on what the top card on the discard pile, or that card can activate those other effects. And you have to think about what cards you're playing and try to make sure you play them in the right order to get those effects. But I find that if you can do those, you can really get a lot out of Little Red, and that she can really be a beast. And I find that Little Red, unlike someone like Invisible Man, where it's very difficult to figure out how to utilize his special ability, this is a special ability that's fairly easy to figure out. Next, we have Dracula. At the start of your turn, you may deal 1 damage to a fighter adjacent to Dracula. If you do, draw a card. So if someone is going to run up and attack Dracula, they either have to have an escape plan to get out of there, or they just have to be willing to take that damage from Dracula. He also gets card draw on top of it. And this is better than like Angel and Bigfoot's card draw, because it's not just card draw by itself. When it starts getting later in the game and Dracula's opponents don't have a lot of health, this is a major thing. What could be better than dealing damage to anyone adjacent to you? Well, at the start of your turn, you may deal 1 damage to opposing fighter in Medusa's zone. This is anyone in Medusa's zone gets hit with that damage, and that is a lot better than just an adjacent fighter. It does have the downside that Dracula got card draw with it. Medusa does not get card draw, but card draw is not the be-all end-all. And really, being a ranged fighter and being able to hit anyone in Medusa's zone, that is really quite a powerful effect. Next, we have Sinbad. And this is, you have what his official special ability is, and then you have what's going on with his cards that's kind of tied into this. When you maneuver, you may maneuver your fighters +1 space for each voyage card in your discard pile. So as more of Sinbad's voyages, some of his attack cards are played, you get an additional thing added to it there. So you can start getting to the point that you can have 7 or 8 movement, which is just, zipping Sinbad across the board. You also look at the card effects that he has with that. The attack value of the voyages go up as more of them are in the discard pile. This is really a huge ability. Even just the movement ability by itself is huge. I'm not taking in the additional card effects. Robert Muldoon and the InGen workers from the InGen set. This is, Muldoon has traps that he can place. He has an additional card that explains the traps, but it's basically a trap that goes down, and when everyone hits it, their movement stops and they take 1 damage. Being able to lay those out there is really, really advantageous, and a large part of what to do with Muldoon, and with the way that his deck is laid out, and he and his InGen workers all being ranged. Those are things that kind of complement each other and make Muldoon a very, very powerful character. You also see that he gets card draw whenever any of his traps is set off and taken off the board. So this is card draw in addition to an action. So once again, way better than like Bigfoot and Angel. Sherlock Holmes. Effects on Holmes and Dr. Watson cards cannot be canceled by an opponent. Effects on any cards can be canceled. Sherlock Holmes has in his deck a lot of Holmes and Watson cards, but a lot of the attack and defense cards have effects on them. And being able to have effects, particularly on your attack cards, not be able to be canceled, that is huge. But this is a really important one to remember. And on top of all the things that can go on in Holmes' deck, this ability is really a massive advantage for him. All right, we're down to our top two. Robin Hood. After you attack, you may move your attacking fighter up to 2 spaces. So after attacking, Robin Hood and the Outlaws can move 2 spaces away. This is really a very, very good ability there. So the idea behind this is that you can move in, you can attack, and then you get this free 2-space move away afterwards. That will only come to effect if you attack. So if you're defending, it doesn't work. And then if you just end up maneuvering twice or playing schemes or things, you don't get to utilize that. And so this is just a really good ability here, that after attacking, being able to move and get that extra movement whenever you attack. And that leads right here into Bruce Lee, where at the end of your turn, you may move Bruce Lee 1 space. Now you may be like, well, why would this 1 space be better than the 2 spaces that Robin Hood gets? It's at the end of his turn, so it is every turn he can get that 1 space, not just when he attacks. So if he's just scheming or double maneuvering, he can use that in there. He's got a number of other times that can come into effect there, and also just being a melee character, that movement is much more crucial to Bruce Lee than it is to Robin Hood. So that's why I feel that this is really a much more important ability to Bruce Lee. So anyway, that is a look at all of the character special abilities. What do you think about what I had to say? Is there anything that I left out? Are there any of these that you think I got completely wrong? Do you agree with all of it? Well, go ahead and let me know what you think about it down in the comments. You can also look at the videos that I've made for these characters, going over their decks and abilities, and take a look at all of that.